Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Couple of Nukes. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Whiskey. And for those of you listening, not watching, my background behind me is a bunch of tangled white wires. It's a nightmare if you're trying to charge your device or, whatever it may be, especially if you have to be on the go a lot. I know as someone who has traveled on airplanes, on ships, by car, and pretty much everything else. Put a bunch of wires in the bag, whether it's for recording equipment as podcasting or just to charge my mobile device. You go to pull them out, and it's just a nightmare. It is a mess, and you can be untangling wires for quite a while, which you don't want. And today we're going to be talking about a product that, gets rid of all that. You don't have to worry about it. Simple, on the go, fits in your pocket, and can make all your cord wrapping needs met. But we're going to get into the creation of the product as a message of hope. Recently, in my Flavors of Confidence episode, we talked about how a lot of alcoholics struggle with identity once sober. They make their identity being an alcoholic and not drinking alcohol, and that all their focus and attention goes into that. And a lot of them feel like they just have to survive, and a lot of them feel like they can't thrive and have a successful life because they'll always just be an alcoholic. Well, that is far from the case as we've discussed, and we're going to go over that today as well. Once sober, the life that you can live a successful life. And it's not without its temptations and hardships, but we're here with Mr. Barrett. He created this product post, sobriety, and he's going to talk about his personal journey. So, Nick Barrett, so great to have you here today.
Mr. Whiskey, great to join you here on your show.
Yeah, so can you tell us, I mean, let's just start from the beginning. I mentioned a battle with alcoholism in your life. Can we talk about what developed into that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, your guess is kind of as good as mine for, how does someone kind of become an alcoholic? I think it's, varies for a number of people, but the common threads that I've seemed to have been able to identify through meeting, a number of alcoholics that I can identify in my own life is that I always wanted to change the way that I felt. I never felt comfortable in my own shoes. Alcohol kind of gave me that social lubricant, as many people talk about, that kind of freed me up from my own mind, kind of helped me separate from my insecure thoughts, and uh, what I thought was kind of helped me become more comfortable in my own skin. Really just kind of lowered my inhibition, so I didn't care as much in the moment what was happening. But the problem was that it's a temporary fix; it's not a permanent solution. And so, as I continued to drink and age and move forward in my life and career and through my 20s, um, I came across quite a few problems that had occurred because, as a direct result of drinking too much and not really being able to kind of stop as soon as I wanted to, or even take days off. So it kind of became an obsession for me, just an everyday thing, hiding it, sneaking around, lying to different people. People would say, "Oh, you seem pretty drunk," and I would say, "Oh, no, I'm fine," being completely, hammered and
Right.
just making a fool of myself. Um, and I was fortunate enough that what happened for me, although it did alter my life, it really gave me another opportunity. I got DUIs, and so I had 3 DUIs in 5 years. I kind of wrote off my first two as just bad luck, and then the third one was just no mistaking the problem at that point.
Right.
Plus, I was given a 10-year suspension, which I'm almost off of at this point, being coming up on 8 years sober here, and so I could drive, but I've still got a hardship license, so it's given me some problems. But I got to say, I mean, it could have been way worse.
For sure.
Accidents, and I met people who hurt other people, and not sure how I'd be able to forgive myself for something like that. But fortunately, I wasn't in that kind of situation. So then I went to rehab and started going to AA. And like you said, just kind of making being sober from alcohol like my whole thing is, that was kind of my new identity. And so the transition from that into where I'm at today has been a process that's been undergoing for the last about 5 years.
Yeah, for sure. And now a lot of people in general don't think of making a product, let alone someone who is focusing so hard on sobriety. So how did your product, end up being a part of your life?
Yeah, I mean, the first 2 3 years were pretty tough, and I gotten some more trouble, and happened to just get really focused on improving myself first in a number of different ways. I would say the first thing I did was, of course, get sober, and then I started working on kind of my physical health, and that was with what I was doing. So I was working out and really taking good physical care of my body. And then from there, it started to transition into, all right, well, if I'm physically doing all these, great things for myself, maybe I should eat well too. So then I started taking care of myself from a diet perspective. I had been drinking all kinds of energy drinks and soda,
Right.
and so, that is unhealthy in its own way. Um, and so started to do that, and then I kind of had all those things together, and it was like, well, I can go work for other people now that I've got my life back together, or I can maybe try to do my own thing. And partially because of being fired a number of times, due to alcohol, I had had some experiences with former managers and companies where I just kind of thought, I'm not sure if I'm meant to be an employee. I'm not really a great
Right. I
employee.
totally
Maybe I should
understand.
try to kind of run my own thing and kind of be a creator, and see if I can, if I put all the weight on my shoulders, if I can, carry that load, and make something interesting. So I had this idea, and started developing it, and lo and behold, 4 or 5 years later, here we are, with it turned into a business.
Yeah, I totally understand. I'm actually the same way. I've had a number of bad experiences with leadership and higher ups, and to be the founder of my own company now, it's a much better system for everyone, for their sake and for mine. So I
Yeah.
I totally understand that. Now, we haven't named it yet, but CordBrick is, the product that we've been referencing. It's one of two products that you have. We'll mention Desk Brick in a little bit here, but we'll start with a CordBrick if you wanna. I know for those of us who are watching, you have one on standby, and for those of you listening, we'll have the website in the description below so you can go check that out. And then, Mr. Bear, if you could kind of describe it for those who are just listening as well.
Sure, yeah. So the original problem that I had and reason I invented the product was just complete laziness. I was in bed, and I was actually still an alcoholic at this point, and used to struggle to fall asleep. I would, pass out from drinking,
Right, right.
usually when I was back in those days. But I struggled to sleep even into my sobriety, and um, one of the problems I had, seems really trivial, was I'd be laying in bed using my phone right up to the moment that I'd go to bed. Maybe that's not advised, but that's what I would do. And my cord would fall on the floor, and I thought, man, I could just make a little silicone brick that could just sit on my nightstand. It could sit on my bed sheet. Could then it could wrap my cord, and I could travel with it as well. There's not really a product like that out there. Why don't I try to make it? And just kind of looking at the existing solutions, and kind of thinking through, I was like, how expensive could this be to make? I mean, all I need to do is I need to make a few, and then I need to try to sell them, and if it works, I make more and I sell more. And so
Right.
that's kind of what I did. And it's not a lot of like engineering. I didn't have any like manufacturing experience or anything like that. And so I just had this this vision of a small tiny little brick, a miniature brick. What is a brick? It's rectangular shaped, it's heavy. And so that's kind of what I set out to create. And so that's what I have here. And it's got just a small piece of silicone with a steel slug inside. And then it's got cord channels that run parallel all down it, two holding channels on the top and bottom, and then two what I call wrapping and grabbing channels on the side. And so with the wrapping, it's the first product that is a cord holder that also travels and wraps cords to go. So you just snap, wrap, trap the cord on the brick, and then you can
Wow.
unwrap
Look at that.
untangled. And then you can even flex these end jaws open. If anybody's watching, you can flex these little jaws open. You can kind of put it on your phone and stand your phone too. So it's basically a cord accessory that always stays with your cord, that even has uses for your phone. And if you look at the competition, there's just really nothing like it. And I think the brick idea kind of resonated with a lot of people, and the kind of the simplicity in the design. But we've been able to grow over the last couple of years, and then, as you mentioned, launched Desk Brick this year. We've got patents on our products. Um, and the customer reviews have been tremendous. I mean, I think I'm even surprised with how favorably most people review the products that we have. You know, they're high 4-star ratings on Amazon, and we're actually able to sell for the keyword stocking stuffer, which is unlike any product in our category. And so that kind of opened up a whole new market for us, the gift giving and receiving market. It's kind of hard to gift something to someone that only does one thing, but I think what's cool about my product is it can do many different things and be used a number of different ways. And so people feel really comfortable gifting it. It's also not incredibly expensive. So you can buy quite a few and give them to a bunch of people. And I think most people can be pretty sure that, you know, someone in their life can use a CordBrick to solve a quarter phone problem that they're having.
For sure. I mean, I can't name one person I know, except for maybe some of the oldest people I know who does not have a wired, a charger for their phone. In fact, most people I know have three to five at least. And with phone companies changing the type of charger you need, now I have at least 10 or 20 around the house. So yeah. Now, can a cord brick support more than one cord at a time?
Yeah, it's got the 6 core channels inside, and then it has a pretty heavy slug of steel inside. So the first thing I do whenever I would be selling at like a flea market, going back to the first stage of selling it, is I would try to put it in people's hands. I would say, "Here, hold this," and they say, "Oh, that's heavier than I thought." Yeah, it is because it's for cord holding. And so then they say, "Oh, yeah, my nightstand, my cord falls on my nightstand every night." And I think, you know, as you alluded to, there've been a lot more devices coming out, small mobile battery powered devices, whether it be earbuds or smartwatches or different things like that the last couple of years. And so everyone has like a, you know, 6 or 7 different cords all over the place. And what's cool about CordBrick is a lot of the competitors have adhesive. And so with CordBrick, you can just kind of create a new charging station anywhere without
Yeah,
fear
right.
of adhesive on any of your surfaces or having to leave it there permanently. And it doesn't just hold one cord, as you mentioned, holds many cords. So you can use one cord brick for quite a few cords. So yeah, people have been very receptive so far.
Yeah, I've actually got a cord to charge my toothbrush. So, we're in that day and age where even my toothbrush has a charging cord for it. So now desk brick, I mean, what is the main difference between cord brick and desk brick?
So some people had said they wanted a bigger, heavier version for more cords. And, you know, cord brick I kind of designed as like your personal cord holder and cord traveling tool. So although you can hold, you know, up to 6 cords, I think most people are doing somewhere between like 1 and 3 cords with cord brick. And then you can also wrap up to 3 cords on it. But when you talk about desk brick, it's got a little bit of a different design. We've turned these end channels here perpendicular. And so with these, you can kind of fit your phone or some other items in these flexi corner pockets, which are patented as well. It's got 7 cord channels up top and even a cord bridge underneath for anyone who's viewing. It's kind of got more of a top side and a bottom side, whereas cord brick is kind of reversible. And so desk brick just adds a little bit more weight, a little bit more stability, a little bit more functionality, higher price for me. Because you know, as you learn as you start selling things online, it's really helpful to sell more expensive items to fewer customers than it is to sell inexpensive items to millions of customers. Much harder to do that. Um, but you know, really, I just wanted to provide another solution in the cord space because I'd kind of done a nightstand cord holder, and I thought, okay, let me add a desktop cord holder. That'll be the second addition to this brick line. It also has a, you know, rectangular shape, heavy like a brick as well. And so I think this year we're going to be launching at least 2 or 3 more brick themed products into our line. Um, and so Desk Brick was the second one.
For sure, the desk brick is definitely something that I would like, me personally. I know with my setup for podcasting, I've got a wire for, two different lights, for a camera, for a microphone, for plugging everything into my laptop, and they're all just in a bundle in this giant messy ball on my desk. So I could use the desk brick, and because if it's larger size, some of these cords that I have, like for my microphone, that are a little bit thicker than the average phone charger cord, that works a lot more significantly. So, yeah. And then you talk about, you know, continuing to innovate, and where's your life at now in terms of alcoholism and mental health?
Yeah, sorry, I just dropped my desk brick and it smacked my ring light here and knocked the camera. I apologize about that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, this has been an incredible journey. I mean, I had lost like all the trust and goodwill of my family. You know, they were kind of just kind of tired of me not carrying my
Right.
own weight. I'm the oldest child of three brothers, and my two brothers are very successful, married with kids. I'm still single. Um, great degrees, great jobs, and everything. I think that kind of goes for most of my extended family as well. My parents also very successful, very type A. I'm more of a creative, and so I think they kind of didn't know if like my method just and my way of doing things just wasn't going to work, or
Mm.
if I ever really had that kind of willpower and drive and desire, or if I was just gonna be a jack off and not make much of my life and not
Yeah.
really appreciate the gift that I've been given. And I think just going through all those personal struggles, I developed some sort of chip on my shoulder, and that's been extremely motivating to me, to kind of prove people wrong, to kind of prove to myself that I'm capable of a lot more than I thought. I kind of just thought that I didn't have willpower, that I didn't possess it, and just wasn't born that way. um and I think I have kind of, and you hear this, I think, from other people and recovering addicts and alcoholics, is actually that that willpower that I have now is, I mean, it's immensely stronger than I would have imagined. I started running, I got to where I was running half marathons, probably could get to a full marathon if I really wanted to. um, but I kind of just have this drive now where as soon as I set my mind to something, it's not really a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And you know knowing that you're going to be able to achieve a certain goal, and then seeing yourself do it, it just builds a tremendous amount of confidence that has translated into every other aspect of my life, my personal relationships, my feeling about myself, um, just what I say, what I comment about, the positivity that I try to bring to others, as opposed to negativity or just
Right.
pointing out the bad things that had happened to me or in the world. And I think now it has given me this kind of this gift of gratitude that I really would like to try to share where I was and where I am with other people who are where I was,
Right.
because you really appreciate the people when you're down in those moments who kind of show you that there's another way out. And I think with AA and similar type programs and anybody who's been through trauma, really what you want to hear is you want to hear from someone who has experienced as similar to that situation as possible and what they did to get through it, and see that it's possible that they got through it and how they're doing now. And so you can kind of envision, to yourself, like, what would my life be like if I was able to do this? And the good people of AA helped me do that a lot. And now a lot of other founders help me do that same thing. And so I'm just doing my part to try to do that a little bit myself.
What you're saying definitely resonates with me because actually the episode before this one with Mr. Kunken, we talked about how he was a quadriplegic, and he felt at the time, over 30 years ago, when he was first dealing with his disability, all he saw in recovery was other people with disabilities who had done nothing with their life. They had just accepted it and given up. And he goes, I need someone to inspire me. I need someone who has gone through this to take the lead. And so he ended up becoming that person for others because he didn't really have that at the time. And same with alcoholics. I know, my father is one of those people who, when he goes to AA, he calls it almost, I don't want to say a pity party, but for him personally, it's just negativity sharing. It's just, this is what happened because of my drinking, all the bad stuff. And I know my father has spoken about wanting a more positive focus where people like yourself are there saying, hey, like, yes, this happened. Like, I got DUIs. Like, it was not a good time, but here's where I'm at now and here's where I'm going, So it's so important, like you said, to have people like yourself, whether it's podcast guesting, writing books, or speaking at in-person events to inspire and show that there is a way because a lot of alcoholics, both recovering and during, are in a place of hopelessness. They're getting less hope every day. They're giving up more every day. They're just giving up more and more, caring less and less. So they really need someone to inspire them And I want to go back to what you said about the discipline and the willpower. And I want to reference Luke chapter 16, verse 10, because that Bible quote is well known, which is, he who is trusted with a little can be trusted with a lot, and he who cannot be trusted with a little cannot be trusted with a lot. And I think when you build on small daily habits and disciplines and small acts of willpower, it gets easier and easier to do. So if you can be sober and fight that temptation of alcoholism and have that discipline and willpower, then life is just so much easier, because then you're like, hey, you know what? I can go for a run, and then I can eat healthy. And you start forming all these habits, and that discipline just builds on itself. And the more self-control and willpower you have with one thing, the more you'll have it with another. So I think that's important. Even like making the desk brick was probably easier than when you first launched CordBrick.
Yeah.
I feel the same way with podcasts. Once you make one, if you go to make another one, like, you've learned not only what you need to do, because there's plenty of, for people like yourself and I, when we first just start something and we have no idea what we're doing and we're, excited about it. And you learn as you go through it a lot of stuff that you wish you knew in the beginning, that when you're going to launch, whether it's a second product, second podcast, second book, whatever it is, not only is it easier because you know what you need to do now, but you also have so much more discipline and work ethic and drive. So I completely agree. Then, Mr. Barrett, is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we wrap up this episode?
No, I'll just comment on what you said, if you don't mind, which is, I think, just a critical point. I used to think motivation was something that you just stumbled upon or you just had to have from the beginning. But I think motivation and discipline is a muscle that you exercise. And the more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. If you practice telling lies or not, doing what you're supposed to do, because I think everybody kind of intuitively knows what they're supposed to do, or
Right.
it's not really hard to find out what you should be doing. Just, listen to a handful of people and you figure it out. I think your subconscious kind of knows that. And then, if you practice anything, practice lying, practice being lazy, you're going to get better at those things. And I think with,
Mm,
something like lying, or not telling yourself the truth, really, at some point, you wonder, how do people get to the point where they can lie to themselves? It's through practice. It's through practicing
right.
it too much. As soon as you, start lying to yourself, you allow your brain to believe these things. And then eventually you can't tell the difference between telling yourself the truth and lying. And so with discipline, it's a similar thing, and motivation as well. And yeah, it's a great lesson. And it's been extremely beneficial to me to kind of get those through the old cranium a little bit.
Yeah, typically when we think of practicing, we think of only for the embetterment of something, but technically it can be for the embetterment of a negative trait. So I think it's important to shift our perspective to know that continuing negative habits is essentially practicing it. But yeah, for everyone who's interested in checking out your product, CordBrick and the Desk Brick, we're gonna have the website in the description below. Like you said, if you don't need it personally, which most of us do, we definitely know someone who does. Perfect gift. It's the best kind of gift is one that you can use, especially daily. It's something that makes your life better. So I highly recommend it. And then in the description below, we'll also have a special promo code for all of y'all listening. So, Mr. Barry, if you want to share that with us.
Sure. Yeah. Just check me out and check my products out at cordbrick.com. You can just search cordbrick on Google. We're on Amazon, of course, walmart.com, on all social medias at cordbrick, YouTube, etc. And then if you do want that 20% off your first order, which stacks with my volume discounts that I have, I just enter code BRICK20 at checkout. And yeah, like you said, product you use every day solves a common problem that people experience all the time. And so I think that's one of the reasons why it resonates with people so well, and really appreciate you having me on your show. Let me chat about my experience here.
Sailing through the ocean blue, nuclear reactors my crew, guiding the ship, the stars as our guide, through the waves we ride, jokes and laughter fill the air. On this voyage we have to share, working together, side by side, as one family we will abide. In the heart of the ship we reside, Nuclear operators with pride, powering the vessel with every stride. Our mission, the source of great pride.